It's complicated.
Is it true that Iceland is green and Greenland is covered with ice?
So what is Michelin? Michelin is an international award system of restaurants.
It does not mean sitting on a counter and having a tasting menu.
Agencies are paid for, one, to review restaurants and get dozens or hundreds of reviews. Welcome to a new episode of Food Unscripted. In the previous shows, we had an enjoyable talk about Dubai and others about Hani and the introduction of who we are and what we do. It's Food Unscripted, nothing prepared, never. We don't even discuss the show before, and everything goes live the way it is. 38 minutes, 3 for my number, 8 for his, and 38 we stop and we continue on another show. You can feel free to ask any question you want in the comments below, and here we are discussing today food destinations.
Yeah, this is a subject very, very dear to me. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, writing about it, traveling to learn more about it. Basically, the question is, what determines a city or a region to be called a culinary destination or a foodie city? What is the criteria?
It's complicated.
Yeah,
it's definitely complicated. And that question is the egg or the chicken before is does food do people or people do food? Does food do a country or country do food? And wow, it's complicated.
It's very complicated. Very complicated. I started thinking about it a lot, and I divided it into two reasons or things that can identify a city as a culinary city. One is cities that you go to. When I say city, it can be a region or a country that you go to for a specific cuisine or a specific type of food. The easiest example is to use for that is Italy. Mm-hmm. You go to Italy, and people go to Italy for food all the time, but you're going there for Italian food. You're gonna go there to eat your pasta, you're gonna go there to have all the regional Italian foods. You're not gonna go to Italy because they have great Indian food or great Chinese food. I'm sure they do, but it's not the reason why Italy is called a culinary destination. The other side of that coin is cities or regions that have multiple cuisines, multiple reasons. Like in the previous episode we discussed Dubai. Dubai is probably the best example of that. It's a melting pot. It's 100 and I found out 80 nationalities, each one having their own kitchen. So you're either this one or that one. And if you're neither, if you're not, listen, not everybody can have good food. Not everybody's famous for having good food, right? So you're not going to be a culinary destination. Not every city can be a culinary destination.
So let's take a step back and start from the beginning and explain exactly what we mean by that.
Yeah.
It starts by the country. So the country is the country on an international location that has good food. Let's start by the countries that have good food, yes, and not have become current destinations. So I'll give an example just for the sake of an example: Lebanon or Italy on the Mediterranean Sea, which are countries that have food, that have people who love food, that have produce, that have been known for good food. So it's not food that has been imported, it's not food that is only for a necessity. I don't want to seem negative and give examples that would be badly or wrongly interpreted, but let's talk about food in Saudi Arabia. Before the expats brought some different kinds of food, there are only 5, 10, 15 that are all based around milk and fat and dates and everything that is good for the person to be able to live in a heat environment. I can give the example of Armenia, which has few dishes that are pork related, very fat related, that less freshness, less tomatoes, less colors, because in the country, it's a country where temperature goes down to -40, and definitely they do not have a sea. So you need to take first the country as is and say, does it have a sea? It adds value. Does it have mountains? It definitely adds value. Do they have good vegetables? It adds value. Do they have 4 seasons? 60 to 70 to probably 100 days of rain during the day. And all of these play a good role when we want to talk about destinations that have created their own food. Yep. So Middle Eastern food, Lebanese food, Italian food, Indian food, Chinese food, etc., etc. So this is the category of food destinations, countries that have good food. So these foods are being taken out of their origin and being used in countries like New York, like Japan, like Dubai, like Riyadh or Saudi Arabia, where you can go and explore all the foods of the world, like LA, etc. So, and then back to people who came in and brought their culture with them. So a melting pot of cultures, as we said, 180 destination nationalities. So every nationality brought with them their habits and good food, and they have settled in New York. So this is why New York is a food destination. Not you won't go to New York to eat American food. You would, but that's not the point. You would eat cuisines of the world. You would go to Dubai to eat cuisines of the world, and not Emirati food. Yes. You would, but that's not the point, and so on and so forth. So we categorize them into two big categories: countries who have good food of their own,
yes,
and countries who give you an exploration of everything.
Yes, a rich culinary history, very deep, very old. Example: Turkish, Iranian. These are cuisines that are thousands of years old. So you either have that, or you have the imported cultures that come in, the melting pots of the world. You mentioned Saudi. I have to kind of say something here. Where I'm from, Jeddah and Mecca region, Hijaz, it's basically a melting pot of different Muslim nationalities that have been coming once a year to do Hajj, but in the old days, many never left. Mm-hmm. So we don't market it. We don't market ourselves properly. But you can go into some local restaurants there, and you'll have Bukhari food, Uzbek food, even Chinese influenced food, Indonesian food, and for us that kind of became like Saudi food. But we don't market it properly. But it's there. But generally speaking, if you say Emirati food or Saudi food or Gulf food, it's fish and rice or lamb and rice, generally speaking.
What's your favorite food destination? If you had to choose one, and why?
Okay, if I had to choose one, it would be Japan. And if I had to choose one city, it would be Tokyo. The reason, it's very hard to describe, and it's much better to experience. But they have, you can go there and have arguably the best pizza in the world, the best pasta you've ever had, incredible Chinese food, incredible, obviously, Japanese food. It's a city where you have desserts. They have entire shopping malls that make candy and sweets and desserts and this, noodles. There's a philosophy in Japanese culture. It's called shokunin. Shokunin is someone who masters their art or their trade. It doesn't have to apply only about food. It can be the shokunin of making samurais. This person has been doing the samurai daily for the past 30 years. And the goal of a shokunin is to master your art, to be the best at what you do. There's one that makes tomatoes. There's one that makes the melons. The most famous melons, you know, those melons that cost a few $100s each. They will actually pick the melons and leave one only on the vine so that it gets all the nutrients. That's why you end up having the most delicious ingredients, or there's the Wagyu shokunin. Guys who make the one dish or the one type of food, grilled meats, that's all they do. But they master it and perfect it. That's why I love Japan. That's why if you ask any chef their favorite place, most of the time they'll say it's Japan because of that.
So Japan teaches you perfection.
Perfection. It teaches you specialization also. You know, there's a guy who makes this knife, and you go there and you see them, and his father was doing it, and his grandfather was doing it. There are restaurants in Japan that are in the same family hundreds of years, or hotels, 1,000-year-old hotel. It's the same family that still owns the hotel. There's one place I went to called Obana. Obana makes the sea eel. Okay, it's the same. It's a 200-year-old restaurant. That's all they do is the eel. They make 2 or 3 dishes. There's a lot of that in Japan.
Have you ever been to Australia?
I have. I've been to Australia because I used to live in Indonesia.
Okay.
And it's so close. And my best friend at the time was Australian. Invited me to Melbourne. And the first time I went to Melbourne, my expectation of Australia was beer, outback, snakes, things like that. To my surprise, I found that they have the most incredible food. They have hospitality is in their blood, you know. Like in Lebanese, they have hospitality. It's part of, they have that in Australia. They'll serve you the most incredible Greek food, even Lebanese, Italian food. And there's La Nonna's in the back making it. I know you've been a few times, and you had also a very good experience, right?
So Australia shocked me exactly. So
Yeah.
I thought I'm gonna go like I see it in the movies, see big snakes and big flying mosquitoes and so whatsoever. And then you discover a country where produce is king, and they have the best of everything. They do master the art of meat. They do master the art of vegetables. So you have the produce, and you can choose anything you want. You want to do Lebanese parsley, you can plant it. You want to have Lebanese cucumbers, you can plant it. So you don't have to import anything. And considering it's a far country, so a 15-hour flight from Dubai, you wouldn't have to import anything. So they do export to the world. There is that question that usually I ask is, do you know why meat in Australia is famous or world famous? Because they are the biggest exporters, and because Americans don't have time to export. So their culture into developing that Wagyu and that
This is
MB
Australian
culture,
Wagyu, absolutely.
it's Australian all the way. And whenever you eat meat in Australia, you would say, okay, wait, stop. Why are restaurants good, and why is the scene good? Because you'll be shocked how many French you will meet, how many Italians you will meet, and you would say, what brought you here all the way from the rest of the world? What brought Lebanese here, etc. So when you look at Australia, probably us living in the center of the world would say, what would take me there more than being a tourist? No, people are going and loving the life there.
Yes.
Imagine Australia is one of the biggest countries in the world, closely or bigger than the States. In all of Australia, there are only 27 million people living.
Incredible.
So in a country where they say there are around 186 nationalities, Dubai people would say 200, but I would say 186 plus or minus, each community would cook for themselves.
Yes.
You need to dig in to go to the Indians
absolutely.
and to the Bangladeshis and the Iraqi. And even if you don't want to do that, you will take a step back and go in the normal places, and you would find a chef of every single cuisine. Filipinos, Chinese, all cuisines of the world would be represented by their chefs and their restaurants. Last but not least, when we talk about that, in a country where rent is way so expensive and where you have to pay for accommodation for your employees, and you have to pay for ikamat for your employees, and you have to pay the rent, and you have to pay electricity, and you have to pay diwa, and you have to pay for fresh air, and you have to pay for cold water, and all of this, failure is not an option.
Yes.
So competition is way so high. But let's start and talk about Dubai. So Dubai, that country that hosted us and all the other hundreds of nationalities. So why Dubai? I would love to start and say why Dubai, because Dubai is a place where you can live in peace,
Yes.
where security is amazing, where respect of others is outstanding and unique and cannot be compared to anywhere else in the world, where you would open up the door of your home, go out and just feel insecurity or secured.
Yes.
You would open the car and forget to close it. You would leave your phone on the bench and nobody would touch it. You would just feel connected with all the other nationalities, and most importantly, where no one would look at you, or you would not even look at someone else. So some cities in the world, you would have all the time this feeling of someone's looking at me.
Yeah, am I standing out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't feel welcomed, etc.
Yeah.
So Dubai is just that place where we can all live together, respecting
Very
one
true.
another to the utmost max.
Absolutely, absolutely. You don't have to worry here about being disrespected or your safety, especially if you have children, your sister, your wife, your mother. Do you know they're not going to get disrespected? Actually, there's a law against taharrush. You know, so it's something that I have a lot of respect for and gratitude for the leadership that they've done.
Few years, definitely, we respect the leadership of this country, and we really appreciate what they're doing, especially now and every single time there is a problem in the world or a war, and now for Lebanon, and that support they always give for their people. It's one of the few countries where really all the effort you put is appreciated.
Yes.
If you're not local, they appreciate your effort as a country. They appreciate your effort as a tourist or as a local, an expat living here. And this adds so much value for your own well-being. So you wake up and feel blessed, feel welcomed, feel that you're being part of the next generation of people that are building something for the future. Yes. And this is what I want to say. Years ago, I always traveled to New York and say, this is a country this is a city I want to be part because it's building up for the future. So the land of opportunities. And it's a fast pace. Everybody wants to work. Everyone is on the, okay, come on, yeah, come on. And back to Dubai, it just feels the same.
Yes.
It's very speedy, very fast, super fast. And you feel like technology of the future or the world of tomorrow is being lived today.
Yes. You know, the government is providing us with the infrastructure and with the technology. We have ultra high speed internet, 5G before anybody else had 5G. It's easy to do everything. You can get licensing, you can set up, everything is efficient. This efficiency leads to entrepreneurial, attracting entrepreneurs. You know, they used to say it's the American dream. You can go, you can make it big in America. Well, you know, I've seen a lot of different nationalities of people making it big here. Mm-hmm. You know, you hear a lot of startups being valuated at unicorns at $1 billion plus. You hear about people who have created a chain of Lebanese restaurants that have sold and cashed in. So it's not limited to, you know, you have to be from this specific part of the world or this kind of background. You can really make it here.
I'm very excited. So let's start by, before going into the details, I'm gonna probably open a parenthesis of something that annoys me, is the use in my culture of the word Lebanese, of the Lebanese flag and the cedar tree. And I've been to many restaurants using that Lebanese cedar tree found on our flag, where the owner is not Lebanese, where the chef is not Lebanese, where probably both of them never traveled to Lebanon, and yet using Lebanon and Lebanese food as a marketing way of promoting. Yeah. So this is one of the things of using things not in a bad way, but wrongly.
Yes.
And do we protect them? On the other hand, some people are going to say, but yes, Italian cuisines and Italian restaurants are not owned by Italians, and probably they do not have an Italian chef in the kitchen. But at least you always ask, and someone says, yes, I've been to Italy, we know how to do a pizza. It's probably easier to buy all the ingredients from Italy and put them into something, and it builds up to a different culture. So it starts by, are you allowed to use this and that on a big scale? And then going into little details, you go on the menu and they say, tabouleh from the Lebanese village. Okay, wait, do you know where the Lebanese village is?
Yeah, exactly. You know, but there is a solution, you know, like in France, they've protected the champagne. It has to come from a specific region that you can call it champagne. It applies to some cheeses also, in Italian, Parmigiano Reggiano, all of that. So there is a system to control this. And it's just maybe we don't use it. You see, you're right about Cedars. There's even Cedars brand now you see it selling. You don't know, just like the Sabra brand. It's not really a Lebanese brand, you know,
Definitely
Lebanese
not.
owned anyway.
Definitely not.
So let's start with this. Okay, so the first one is one we touched on in one of the episodes. The term Michelin starred chef. Okay, so Michelin starred chef is not a correct thing to say.
Yeah.
Because the Michelin star is awarded to the restaurant. Mm-hmm. But the chef gets to wear it on his jacket. But you see it all the time in advertising. We have Michelin starred chef visiting, come for this and that and whatever. Do you agree that Michelin star chef is being...
Definitely, and it's very important to know that whenever a chef who has the star on his chest leaves that restaurant, he cannot take the star with him.
Yeah.
He becomes a chef that was awarded, but now it's not a chef that has the award. Yeah. Usually, they link the chef and the restaurant. And we've seen chefs that own 3, 4, 5, and 6 restaurants. They do not have 6 stars. They have one because they are chef with one restaurant, connected to one restaurant, and that chef is with that restaurant. But all the others are businesses, investments. Sure. So every one of their restaurants are owned by them, but have a chef. So the restaurant gets the award connected or linked to that head chef,
Yes.
without forgetting that the chef has 14 up to 20 sometimes chefs that help him. At Noma, they were 42.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then there are chefs that own multiple restaurants and they have stars. You can say Chef X has 19 stars awarded to his various restaurants across the world. But like you said, he's not going to wear 19 stars on his chef. So we agree on this.
So Michelin, just to finish on the Michelin part. So what is Michelin? Michelin is an international award system of restaurants that works through countries or cities when this city or the country pays for Michelin to come in. Yes. So it's not globally. Yes. It will start in Houston. It has started in New York, but it's not in the States as a whole.
Yeah. It's city by city.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is in Dubai, but not in Lebanon and so on. One. Two, there are two levels of Michelin. There is the level when we say this is a Michelin restaurant. Okay, wait, is it a starred Michelin restaurant or a Bib Gourmand? Yes. And the Bib Gourmand is that face of the Michelin tire logo.
Bibendum. His name is
Bibendum, exactly. That gives it recommended by the guide, casual and recommended by the guide, but no star.
And good value for money.
Yes.
Which is the important part.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not a consolation prize.
No.
It's not like, oh, we're not going to give you a star, but we're going to give you this.
Al harakat. So it doesn't have to have 2 forks and 2 knives and the whole shebang of things. Yeah. It's just a casual, enjoyable with Michelin quality.
Yeah. Okay. So we pretty much agree on this one. Okay. The term home cooked. You see it all the time. Home cooked, home style. I think home cooked should be home cooked. I don't think a restaurant should say home cooked.
So homey feel.
Yeah.
Let's start using by feels like home, but it's not home cooked. And home cooked is a big no. And I think and France reached a point at a certain point in time, probably 3 or 4 years back. This is very new, where people wanted to know, is it true or not? Yeah. And people wanted that feeling. So they created the award that looks like a house, that is a homey cuisine or made at home or whatever, where you are obliged to use probably up 60 or 70, I'm not going to say something wrong, but we'll double check into that, unscripted, so I didn't prepare. 60 to 70% of your ingredients that are made at home or made in small businesses or made in-house and made in-house. So accordingly, when 80% of croissants in France are delivered at 4 a.m. and then frozen and then they're put on boulangeries and they write made in-house, homemade, okay, wait.
Yeah.
So France had to come up and say, okay, stop lying. Stop lying to people. Yeah. So back to the home cooked, and we see it home cooked rice or home cooked
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a discussion with a restaurant owner some time ago, where it was a daily dish, home food for lunch, طبخات. At the end, I called him and said, I didn't feel the mom's touch.
Yes.
So definitely your chef, which I respect, is great at doing hummus and tabbouleh, but definitely not. And we talked about the difference between a festive lunch, meza table, and what we eat at home. Yeah. So definitely your chef needs help. Get a mom to add the touch of passion or nafas.
We talked about that. Restaurants where you can taste the love in the food. You know, home cooking style is not the same as saying home cooked or homemade.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. You can have homemade magdous that's made by somebody at home and serve it in your restaurant. Okay. But you be careful with the use of homemade.
Yes. Stop lying.
There's a difference. Okay. You said it, not me. All right. Celebrity chef.
Oh, please take your time. Tell me everything about it.
Okay. The first question is, who says you're a celebrity or you're not a celebrity? I'll tell you what my thinking on this is. Celebrity, you have to be known outside of what you do. You know what I mean? Like you have to be recognized. It could be you have seasons on television. It could be you're married to a famous person. You're a celebrity. You're known. You're in the news. You're in the tabloids. That's a celebrity chef. Celebrity chef is not a successful like a Michelin-starred chef, which is a wrong thing to say. A chef of a Michelin-starred restaurant isn't a celebrity chef.
The thin line between being a celebrity and having 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, you are not a celebrity.
No, you're not. You're not. And you shouldn't be allowing people to call you a celebrity chef and using it in your marketing. and we have celebrity chef collaborations. You're not.
In what interests us today, one, stop using words كيف ما كان.
Yeah.
Two, nobody said a Wagyu burger is better than a normal burger.
I prefer not a Wagyu.
Of course.
Yeah. And then let me end by saying, please don't use A5 or Wagyu to elevate the price on your menu. And use it if it's actually A5. And when you're in Japan and you're eating the high marbling, they'll give you a small piece of it. It's not like the entire steak you're having is that.
Super expensive.
Or they'll cut it very thin. They'll melt the fat.
Honey, you cannot eat it all.
It's too heavy.
You cannot do it for 100 grams.
Yeah.
It's like it's like eating a lurpak
Yeah.
without bread.
Absolutely. Agreed on this one. One of my favorite food destinations is the Basque region in northeastern Spain. I love it. San Sebastian being the big city or the most well-known city. Now, another thing popping up on menus, the word San Sebastian or Basque to describe a dish or to describe a menu or to describe the cheesecake. Mostly you see
Cheesecake.
San Sebastian cheesecake or burnt Basque cheesecake. Burnt Basque cheesecake or San Sebastian cheesecake, it's not just a cheesecake and the top is brown colored. It's not that. There's a lot more that goes into that. And it's being misused.
Yeah, I 100% agree. What is a cheesecake and how cheesecake trend has become. So again, a decade back, the trendy cheesecake was a New York cheesecake or an American cheesecake. Absolutely. Made famous by the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. And then fast forward, we needed something more elevated, classier, more expensive.
To be able to charge more.
To be able to charge more. And then the Basque cheesecake were created. Yeah. Basque is more complicated to do, is more complicated to have a fresher smell.
It uses different cheese and different milk.
Way different cheese.
Different.
Exactly. Yeah. And that burning and the paper used and the no biscuit on the side, on the bottom, and so on and so forth. So probably one of the things, read about the Basque cheesecake, which is my favorite. I love it. Yeah. But seeing cheesecakes all around displays and saying, this is a Basque cheesecake.
Yeah. So we're in agreement on this one. It's starting to bother.
I'm sure we're going to agree on all, but...
I just want to add, the most famous place for Basque or San Sebastian cheesecake in San Sebastian is called La Viña. So if you ever go to La Viña and wait in line, it's worth it.
Noted.
All right, next one, truffles. Mm-hmm. Now this is a huge one, right? I remember, as a younger man, I used to only eat truffles between September and January, or October and January, which was white truffle season. We never had truffle potato chips. We never had truffle burgers, truffle pizza, except in those 3 months, they had the white truffle pizza. It was more about white truffle. The black truffle was mostly had, for me anyway, in French cuisine inside foie gras or a périgot, they call it, right? So now it's everywhere. And again, it's being used to charge more. Truffle, especially truffle fries and this. There's fake truffle being made, truffle essence. They're making it in a laboratory. It has no truffle in it. It's just a flavor that's sprayed on the French fries or whatever. I would like to go back to truffle is real truffle.
Understanding what truffle is, very simple. If you like truffle, if someone likes truffle, if you want to understand what truffle is, try to find a black truffle or go to a restaurant and have a black truffle and ask that same restaurant if you cannot do the experiment at home to get you truffle oil. Eat from this truffle oil, which has become everywhere, and chips truffle and all that shit around, and eat just one slice of black truffle. The feeling inside your mouth and the energy you're gonna feel and the shaking of palatal buds, you would say, okay, wait, I've been lied to all my life.
Yes.
A truffle oil is so cheap, so misused, wrong flavor, loaded with aromas, has nothing to do with truffle, that you would say, wait, I'm not even gonna buy it for home.
Yes.
And when you take that truffle and understand how much it takes, and I've been twice to truffle farms in Australia, which are manually producing truffles brought from Europe, and how much time it takes, and how many dogs it takes, and how the season is just too small, 1 or 2 months a year, and how expensive it is, etc., etc. And when you smell it and you eat it, and you say, okay, wait, this is a $400 piece.
Yes, it's a luxury item. It's a luxury.
How can they put it into chips or whatever it is? So truffle in general, I'm talking about black, you're talking about white, which is triple more expensive than the black one.
Yes.
So truffle is a luxury item, sold by the gram.
And it's shaved, it's paper thin, like you can see through it.
By the gram.
Yes.
So that all of marketing approach to what truffle is, if you're a foodie and want to connect with truffle, just do the experiment. Same table, same paper. 1 drop of this, 1 slice of this, and you'll know what I mean.
It's important to add that there are Italian producers who make beautiful truffle-infused olive oil, but they use real truffle. Well, the one we were talking about is the one that's made in labs. It's a truffle essence. It's just a flavoring. It's made in a lab. It's a flavoring. And that's what you're getting in potato chips and things like that.
Yes.
So that's another one. I have a question for you. How can so many restaurants have a near perfect Google review score of 4.9? It doesn't make sense. Even the best restaurant in the world, Noma, one of the best restaurants in the world, doesn't have a near perfect score. My opinion is these scores are being manipulated. There are companies, and this is not an opinion, this is a fact. There are companies you can hire that will get you people to give you 5-star reviews. There are little tricks that you can have as a restaurant where if somebody eats, you ask them to immediately make a review. You can make a QR code, scan it, it'll take you right to the Google page. Please review, please give me a nice. You can give out free meals to people and ask them to give you a 5-star review. My point is, one needs to learn how to navigate the Google review world.
On TripAdvisor, a couple of years back, there was a test done by a couple of people, a bunch of friends, who created a restaurant that doesn't exist, reviewed it 5-star for a couple of months, and then at the end, even reserved for people table and then canceled them the last minute, and continued doing it again and again until they sent it to TripAdvisor and said, if we manage to do it, so imagine how much fakeness there is in this world. So imagine how many people have had 5-star reviews, etc. And their restaurant, which was not a restaurant,
didn't even exist,
got a very high grade on TripAdvisor, and so on and so forth. So back to reviews. Are reviews fake or not? Should you trust reviews or not? Are people going out to restaurants putting reviews at the right restaurant? I have my company on Google Maps. I have received sometimes reviews of people who I never met.
Yes.
And our other company, we have reviews from people that, okay, I don't know you, man. You didn't even buy. You're not on my list. I didn't have any customer today when you say I went today and it was bad. Putting a 1/5 or talking about things that are not available. So at the end, why? So the why of things is very important, starting with Google and the reviews. And the other things is when you put a 1/5, you're harming a business.
Yes, you are.
And when you put a 5/5, you're lying to people about a business.
Yes.
So where should it stop?
I have a few tricks on how to navigate specifically Google. First thing is, let's talk about the actual reviewing part. You and me both spend time putting our reviews on Google. And I do that. And it's helped a lot of people. Don't go to an expensive restaurant and complain that it's expensive and give them a 1/5. You can look up the menu online before going, and you can say, can I afford this place? Can I not afford this place? Giving a 1/5 review because it was too expensive, for me, is not correct. That's first. So the reviewer has a responsibility also. Do it for the right reason. Don't go day one, restaurant open, and say, the food took too long to come out of the kitchen. Take into consideration that it's a new restaurant. So the people putting the reviews need to be a little bit more considerate of the situation and all of that. Another trick I do, I will follow or look at the reviews of people who have that little orange star next to their name. I don't know what it's called, but Google will
Contributors.
Contributors. Someone who's contributed a lot. I will not believe or take into consideration someone who has only one review. So when I look at a restaurant that has a near 4.9%, I'll click and I'll see all the reviews. If most of them are being done, if most of the 5-star reviews are being done by people who have only reviewed one restaurant or two, then I know there's something off.
Exactly. So explaining what happens on Google Maps. Google Maps allows everyone to add a review. You need only to have a Google account. Along the way, you play a game of the contributors, and becoming a contributor that starts at level 1 ends up at level 10. And the more you review, the more you add, you get the grades to go all the way up from 1 point up to 100,000 points. So whenever you see reviews of a restaurant and you see a 4.9, or if you want really to go to that restaurant and pay money for it or travel for it, check out the reviewers on the below, and you can click on a reviewer, and even without clicking on it, you will read under the reviewer with 100 reviews,
yes,
200 reviews,
exactly,
50 reviews, etc. And he has an orange dot, and that orange star starts from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10, and the reviewer number 10 cannot fake it, because a reviewer number 10 would need 100,000 points, and that takes an age of a lifetime.
He's reviewing it for the right reason.
And at least he has done a couple hundred restaurants in his life.
Yes.
And he had the experience and maturity, probably, to reach a point where he wouldn't have put 1/5 for all. Considering that you can claim, how would I say, click on the reviewer if you are a business owner and say, this was wrong. So Google would know.
You could challenge the reviews.
So you can flag a review.
Yes.
So a person with 1, 2, 3, 4 flags would be kicked out of Google for a way or another.
Yeah. Sometimes people will gang up on a restaurant or on a business, and they'll all give it a group of people, and it'll really harm a restaurant. So the restaurant does have some recourse with Google.
Tell me about the American law. So your friend sent you something this morning.
So the American government has decided that they're going to punish fake reviews. So it's breaking news. It's happening now. The FTC, I guess, is doing it. Here in Dubai, where we live, before I want to get into the law of that, sometimes a brand new restaurant you look up their Google listing, pre-opening, already it has 4.9 on it. How can that be?
Agencies?
So use some common sense as a person looking at the reviews. It's impossible. It's brand new, the restaurant. How could it already have 5 stars or 4.9?
So two things are happening in Dubai. Allow me to say it as is. Agencies are paid for, one, to review restaurants and get dozens or hundreds of reviews, and two, sometimes you go to a restaurant and you see it fully loaded with models and beautiful girls and good-looking guys, and these are agencies as well.
Yes.
And it's a way of PRing.
Yes.
To start well and say, wow.
One is for the Instagram and one is for the Google review.
Yeah.
So be smart with your Googling. Let's talk about the law. Recently, we hear more and more about the laws of criticism or how you talk about other businesses. And a friend of mine who is a lawyer is also a food reviewer, the food advocate, Dr. Habib Al-Mullah. And I discuss this with him all the time. And his short version or simplified answer to me always is, you can say whatever you want as long as you're not harming the business. It's not a black and white law here. You can say this, but you can't say that. It's more of am I harming iqta' rizq? Am I harming the people who work there? Am I lying or am I saying the truth? If you're saying they're serving rotten food,
you need to prove it.
Yeah. Then the restaurant can go to the police and you can be arrested, fined, and sometimes jailed.